Although the 90s were nearly 3 decades ago, they are still considered to be the golden era of animation. Animated Saturday morning cartoons and films were released on Saturday morning and had a wide-reaching cultural impact. Storytelling turned experimental and innovative. The advancing technology, including the increased use of 3D animation paired with the classic 2D style, made the decade's films memorable. The convenience of VHS tapes encouraged viewers to revisit their favorite films when they wished to. In this marvelous video, let us relish the sweet nostalgia of the 90s and count down 12 underrated animated films the decade gifted us with. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Cats Don't Dance, 1997. The American animated film by Warner Brothers was also the directorial debut of Mark Dindal. Cats Don't Dance is a story set in showbiz. Our main character is an ambitious cat named Danny who's got big dreams of going to Hollywood. He was chosen to play a role in the film Lil Archangel. Danny, excited to star in the movie, met his fellow actors, Sawyer from Mammoth Studios, Franson Cranston, TW, and Tilly, all of whom would become his fast friends by the end of the film. However, his fellow animals told him that Hollywood tends to give animals less important roles than the ones given to humans. Danny decided to put on an elaborate musical performance to change the minds of the humans and provide animals with more significant roles. He and his friends were constantly antagonized by Darla Dimple, the lead of Lil Archangel, who was said to be a parody of Shirley Temple. Cats Don't Dance is a beautifully animated movie made into a stellar musical that shines light on things such as pursuing your dreams while working with opposing forces in your lived reality and discrimination in Hollywood faced by actors from different communities. It also told us how show business works since we saw the competitiveness of being the star begins to break down Danny's self-worth. The film is said to be a clever allegory disguised as a vibrant animation.
I'd be lost without you.
Balto, 1995. The animated adventure drama was directed by Simon Wells, produced by Amblin Entertainment, and distributed by Universal Pictures. The heartwarming story revolved around the Serum Run of 1925. The protagonist was a wolf dog named Balto, who lived near Nome, Alaska, with his dad Boris, the Russian snow goose, and Luck and Muck, the polar bears. Balto was not a purebred wolf dog. It was a fact that he was often teased about by other sled dogs. Balto found solace in his only friends in town, a little girl named Rosie and her husky, Jenna. Tragedy soon struck in the form of a diphtheria outbreak contracted by Rosie and all the other kids in town. What's worse is that the cure lay 1,000 miles away in Anchorage, and the boats were unable to dock due to the icy harbors. The team of dogs chosen to retrieve the cure disqualified Balto for being half-bred, but soon were stranded by themselves. In his heroic journey, Balto realized that his wolf's heritage was his strength, which he ultimately used to successfully deliver the cure. He was guided home by an Aurora, simulated by Jenna. Based on true events, Balto is a story of courage, shining light on the harsh weather conditions the sled dogs and mushers had to endure to save the dying children. The film is a story of a loner who was made to feel like an outcast by his own kind. Balto didn't want to change his heritage, but instead he took control of his actions and helped a greater purpose. A Goofy Movie, 1995. The animated musical was directed by Kevin Lima and produced by Walt Disney Studios. It's based on the afternoon TV show Goof Troop. A Goofy Movie is a chaotic ride we're taken on with everyone's beloved Goofy and his teenage son, Max Goof. Like most boys his age, Max was always preoccupied with his crush and being popular among his friends. The adorable film shows all of Goofy's attempts to bond with his son. Goofy took Max on a road trip from their town of Spoonerville to Lake Destiny in Idaho. The two got into adventures, such as the instance when Goofy tried to teach his son a perfect fishing technique, reeling in the Bigfoot instead. Goofy and Max had opposing interests, as the former wanted to continue the father-son camping fun, and the latter wanted to go to Los Angeles for a cool new concert. A Goofy Movie was an endearing one, since it featured a classic character Goofy, who is usually portrayed as the comedic relief in most cases, except this one. The film lets his human, more realistic self shine through. Behind the apparent slapstick, the movie has layers that subtly express what is left unsaid. The basic premise of the road trip comedy is the lack of communication between father and son. Although the movie saw a mediocre reception at the time of its release, over the years, it gained a cult following that spanned across all ages. So much so that the famous 2022 animated feature, Turning Red, was inspired by a Goofy Movie.
Oh, Derek.
The Swan Princess, 1994. The Swan Princess, directed by former Disney animation director Richard Rich, was the first installment of what would become an 11-part franchise. It's inspired by the classic ballet composed by Peter Tchaikovsky. The animated film followed the budding romance between Prince Derek and Princess Odette. They were promised to each other by their overzealous parents, Queen and her friend, King William. The prince and princess would be in line for the throne, but the shadowed eyes of sorcerer Rothbart also turned to their throne. Throughout their childhood and adolescence, Odette and Derek hated each other's guts until they didn't. What changed? Derek wished to marry Odette for her beauty. She was soon cursed by Rothbart to turn into a beautiful white swan, being able to transform back into her human form momentarily when touched by moonlight. It was up to Derek to prove his undying love for Odette and break the spell. Like many other iterations of the Swan Princess, the 1994 animated feature is a classic fairy tale that also managed to call itself out subtly. When Derek finally asked for Odette's hand, he claimed that she was all he ever wanted, for she was so beautiful. Odette replied in a now famous line asking, "What else? Is beauty all that matters to you?" Making it clear that the central theme of the movie was the fact that love should always supersede physical attraction and beauty. Ideally, what lies beneath our shells should matter most. The Swan Princess holds a very dear place, wrapped up in nostalgia for many.
Hi, I'm Max.
We're back. A Dinosaurs Story, 1993. Dinosaurs have been all the rage in cinema since the release of Jurassic Park. This animated film, produced by Steven Spielberg's animation studio, Amblimation, spun a heartwarming tale of friendly dinosaurs and their day out in New York. The story began 65 million years ago when a T-Rex named Rex was in in the middle of hunting when he was interrupted by a spaceship. A green alien named Vorb fed Rex brain grain, a cereal that would turn him from an instinctual killer into your friendly neighborhood T-Rex. Rex, along with Dweeb the Paraceralophus, Wong the Triceratops, and Elsa the Pterodactyl, were fed the brain grain invented by Captain New Eyes. He wanted to send the dinos to present-day New York so children could witness the wonders of real-life dinosaurs. The story follows the old-timers meeting two kids named Louie with the dinosaurs' day out in the city. They encountered Captain New Eyes' evil twin, Professor Screw Eyes, who wished for the dinosaurs to star in his eccentric circus. Screw Eyes was also the inventor of Brain Drain, a cereal that would revert the dinosaurs back to their animalistic forms. But the touching pleas made by Louie to his newly found friends warmed their hearts till they returned to their friendly selves. A Dinosaurs Story was the classic tale of a good twin versus an evil twin. Its reception was mixed, with many believing the writing was bizarre, as it incorporated the horror circus aspect in a light-hearted kids' movie. Filled with a fair share of slapstick, the film was animated through hand-drawn and digital frames combined. It's still considered a nostalgic moment of the 90s. Goalie, The Last Rainforest, 1992, the directorial debut of Bill Croyer. The film was an indie animated musical feature that touched on increasingly relevant themes. The story portrayed Krista, a fairy who lived in Goalie, a rainforest free of humans. Krista is a curious little creature who constantly desires to explore the entire forest beyond her realm. On one of her explorations, she met Batty, an eccentric bat that has been experimented on by humans. Their home was in danger of being razed down by humans, as Krista saw with her own eyes a group of lumberjacks cut down trees. One of the loggers, named Zach, was nearly squashed by a falling tree, but saved in time by Krista, who shrunk him to her size. Zach was roped in the magical world of Goalie as he rocked and rolled with reptiles and buzzed around with the Beetle Boys. Zach and Krista slowly fell in love, but he kept the true intentions of the humans in their rainforest a secret until the forest started visibly dying around them. Goalie is an exciting tale full of wondrous animals at play every day. The main plea made by this movie was to save our rainforests. The message was diluted by the forest being saved by fairies, and part of the blame was put on supernatural beings who encouraged the humans to destroy the forest. Even so, Goalie is a pleasant watch with groovy tunes that were essential to the 90s. The Princess and the Goblin, 1991. The animated fantasy feature, directed by József Gamesh, was based on the 1872 book of the same name by George MacDonald. The film is an underground tale of monstrous misfits. Once upon a time, in a prosperous kingdom surrounded by mountains and warmed in sunshine, lived a widowed king and his daughter, Princess Irene. On one of her walks, the princess was lost in the woods, attacked by gnarled creatures who were then driven away just in time by melodious singing from a mysterious source. Irene was found by Curdy, a miner's son, who told the princess of the goblins that lived underneath their kingdom. The goblins and their pets could be driven away by sweet singing. After this, Curdie accidentally ventured into the realm of the goblins that lay below the mines he worked in. He stumbled upon an audience held by the Goblin King of Queens, who conspired against the Sun People, aka humans. The Goblin Prince came up with a diabolical plan to marry Princess Irene and rule the Sun People with an iron fist. The fate of the kingdom relied on the cunning Curdie and the brave Princess Irene, who was helped by the spirit of her great-great-grandmother. The Princess and the Goblin is a story of losing one's way and finding it to get back on the right path. The film feels like a quaint world in itself, with courageous characters being a breath of hope in a desolate world under our own. Once Upon a Forest, 1993. The Hanna-Barbera production, directed by Charles Grosvenor, followed the story of three adorable critters created by Ray Lambert. Meet the Furlings: Abigail, the leader, Edgar, the brave, and Russell, who loved to eat. The mischievous children of Cornelius got up to all sorts of fun in their cozy corner of the world. One day, on a walk with their father, the Furlings saw the human road for the first time ever. A car nearly ran over Russell just as the driver carelessly threw a glass bottle out the window, which lay shattered on the road. Upon returning home, they solemnly realized that a tank truck filled with toxic gas had overturned after its tire was punctured by the shattered bottle. The Furlings' friend Michelle had become severely ill by inhaling some of the poison, which had already killed her parents. The forest relied on the Furlings to bring home ingredients like lungwort and eyebright for a cure to be made. Their journey was a perilous one, filled with murderous owls, religious wrens, and human vehicles. But the Furlings saved the day, flying great distances in their flapper wingamathing to find the ingredients. Once Upon a Forest is yet another story of a paradisiacal forest untouched by humans till it was. It spoke about the consequences of human recklessness on the natural world, a theme that seems recurring for the genre of movies we are talking about. On the surface level, the film is a Hanna-Barbera classic with upbeat songs wrapped up in a cute little family feature.
The world awaits.
The Pagemaster, 1994. The fantasy-adventure film, released by 20th Century Fox, was an interesting mix of animation and live-action starring everyone's favorite kid of the 90s, Macaulay Culkin. A young boy named Richard Tyler was terrified of the world he lived in. On his way home from the store, Richard was struck in a thunderstorm and took refuge in the library. There, he met the batty librarian, Mr. Dewey, who was actually the Pagemaster. He sent little Richard on a journey into a land of endless wonders. The fearful boy encountered 3 books: a greedy for gold pirate book, a lavender fairy tale, and a blue hunchbook with a hunchback. The 4 of them set out to the land of adventures, where they met classic characters like Dr. Jekyll and Hyde, alongside with the whale Moby Dick. He stumbled across the Lilliputs from Gulliver's Travels and climbed down Jack's beanstalk to find a way home. Little Richard earned the opportunity to face his fears and scale the heights of the greatest thrills. The film featured a star-studded cast who turned into animated characters to take us along on this magical adventure. Many believe that The Pagemaster is the kind of children's fantasy movie that they don't make anymore. Its simplicity added to its charm, following a classic fairy tale path that never fails to invoke warm nostalgia. Distinguished from other 90s animated features, the creative choice of blending in live-action sequences was an interesting one.
He was that true king.
Quest for Camelot, 1998. The fantasy-adventure film created by Warner Brothers is a journey to rescue an enchanted sword. The film was inspired by the 1976 book The King's Domicile by Vera Chapman. In the world of Celtic mythology and an age of great hope, the knight named Sir Lionel was part of the Arthurian Round Table. Sir Lionel was killed during an assassination attempt made on King Arthur by Lord Ruber, who was chased off using the Excalibur. Lionel's daughter, Kaylee, was a brave young girl who dreamed of becoming a knight like her father. Lord Ruber struck again. This time, he planned to kidnap Kaylee and her mother to gain leverage over Camelot. Hearing this, Kaylee fled into the forest where she encountered Garrett, the blind hermit, Aidan, followed by Devon and Cornwall, a two-headed dragon who couldn't stand one another, while fleeing from Ruber's henchmen. The gang was also in search of Excalibur, who they found in a behemoth troll's lair. After all their adventures together, Kaylee and Garrett fell in love, also earning their places at the Round Table for defeating their foe and restoring Camelot to its former glory. Quest for Camelot has been described as a story of wizardry and wonder, rebels and romance, danger and dragons. It's an inspiring tale showcasing the unmatched bravery of the main character, Kaylee. The plot is a solid one, heavily based on English folklore of the realm of Camelot, a classic tale of Arthurian chivalry. An American Tale, Fival Goes West, 1991. Another masterpiece released by Amblimation Entertainment, Fival Goes West is the sequel to the 1986 classic An American Tale. The second installment followed the adventures of Fival Mousekewitz, 5 years after he and his family arrived in America, the land of freedom from Russia. In this film, Fival constantly daydreams of being a courageous cowboy who comes to the rescue of his helpless friends. Fival's sister, Tanya Mousekewitz, wished to become an all-famous singer while their father reminisced about the time in the East where he was a prosperous violin player. He also questioned why America was known as the land of opportunity. Fival Goes West brought back the beloved characters from the prequels such as Tiger, Miss Kitty, Cat R. Wall, and Chula. Fival finally gets to live out his cowboy fantasy while rescuing Tiger, who was captured by a native tribe in the desert. The film was relatively well received and described as the tame events following the big journey of a little mouse to a faraway land. Fival Goes West also saw the character transformation of Tiger, a cowardly cat who got a new start as a dog. The film was an exciting sequel to an already loved story that featured catchy songs like Dreams to Dream and Way Out West. The Pebble and the Penguin, 1995. The animated Antarctic adventure, released by MGM, portrayed the wondrous rituals undertaken by Adelie penguins at the time of the full moon. Hubie was a timid penguin who wished to find the perfect pebble to give his one true love, Marina, and ask for her hand in marriage. Hubie, unable to find a suitable pebble, wished upon a star and was gifted a dazzling emerald stone that fell from the skies. However, Hubie is confronted by the troublesome Drake, who tells the penguin that no one can love someone like him. Drake then threw Hubie into the ocean, and as fate would have it, was carried away across the sea, stranded on an iceberg. What followed was Hubie's chaotic adventure to find his way back home. He encountered the no-nonsense northern rockhopper penguin Rocco, and the two fought for their lives against a killer whale. In a classic tale of love triumphs all, Hubie finds his way to his own true love and sees through the full moon mating ritual. With a star-studded cast of Martin Short, Tim Curry, Annie Golden, and Jim Belushi, The Pebble and the Penguin was a considerable success. The main themes of the film are honor, friendship, and love, all wrapped up in a light-hearted family film filled with funny characters and vibrant animations. Hubie made for an endearing main character who made audiences chuckle as he tried to answer the question, can penguins really fly? Marvelous verdict. Here we come to the end of our list of 12 underrated animated movies of the 90s. The decade gifted us with films that had a quality of cozy magic. For old time's sake, these movies deserve a watch for the pure nostalgia they bring out in us, the heartwarming plots with optimistic characters seeing the world as a better place than it really is. Running to fantastical worlds, even for a brief moment, feels comfortable and reminiscent of childhood. The stories compel us to think about the mysteries of life and the nature of our reality.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.